Take Stephen A. Smith, Dan Orlovsky. I'm Molly Karam. Gentlemen, how are we?
What's going on, y'all?
Fantastic.
We have a very busy show today, so let's go. And we start with breaking news out of Cleveland. According to our Jake Trotter, Odell Beckham Jr. excused from practice for a second straight day. Odell might have played his final game with the Browns as his representation is engaged with Cleveland general manager Andrew Berry on the next steps for the wide receiver. Beckham was told not to attend Wednesday's practice, one day after his father posted a video on Instagram highlighting times when Mayfield didn't throw the ball to Beckham when he was open. In addition to other comments he made, Odell Beckham Sr. responded with 3 green check marks in the comment section of a post that said Mayfield was either hating on Odell or he just doesn't want him shining. Here's Baker Mayfield on what I'd consider some pretty serious accusations by Odell's father.
The allegations that was made yesterday was that you're deliberately not throwing Odell the ball on purpose. Like, what do you make of that?
It's deliberately not throwing the ball to an extremely talented player that I've done a lot of work with is it's an opinionated statement. I'll say that.
You forgive Odell for this? Would you accept an apology?
Yeah, I think any sort of conversation would go a long way.
Are you hurt that this is the route he chose to voice his frustration?
Hurt? No. Surprised? Yes. I've had conversations with his dad before, man-to-man, face-to-face, and I was pretty surprised by the video and, you know, the intentions and the feelings behind it. I'd be lying if I said otherwise, but hurt? No. I'm good. I'll be all right. You know, if he's back, then we'll work through it and do whatever it takes. I can put my ego and pride to the side to win, because that's all I care about is winning.
Okay, there's Baker Mayfield. Bart Scott joining us as well, hustling over from Get Up. Good to have you, sir.
Yes.
Stephen A., I'll start with you. What's your reaction to Odell being excused from practice again?
I think it was the appropriate decision to make. Let me say this. I don't know if Baker Mayfield has ever looked better. Let's take this into consideration here. We all know what I've said, just so you know, Bart, because you might not have been on with me when I've said this. There's no excuse to be targeting and not having a better connection with a receiver the caliber of Odell Beckham Jr., in my estimation. And I definitely think that there were ego clashes involved, and that's something that cannot happen with your receiver and your quarterback. And as the quarterback, you being the leader, I do hold you culpable for that, more so than even a wide receiver. Having said all of that, Odell Beckham Jr. handled this wrong. There's no way on earth that your daddy, nobody's believing that your daddy just compiled that stuff for social media and put it out there and you had nothing to do with it. You had something to do with that, okay? It's a bad look when your parents get involved in the public stratosphere to make your point and your case for you. Ultimately, that comes back to you, which is why he doesn't need to be in that locker room today. But the reason why I say on this particular morning, Baker Mayfield has never looked better. I see why Cleveland loves him. I'm talking about the city. You know what I'm saying? Because he could have gone, you know that he want to go off. He's got that kind of moxie, that kind of swag with him. You know, he ain't scared to speak his mind, which he's taught us over the years. You know, he's very, very candid. He did not lie to anybody yesterday, but he was very respectful and very professional, even though he was still being real. You can look on his face. You see the pregnant pauses, the hesitation. You know what I'm saying? The kind of things when you're communicating with your facial expressions, your body language, and you're communicating with silence, with things you don't say that people obviously know that you're tempted to say. He did all of that yesterday while remaining within the boundaries of showing respect and decorum. I got to give Baker Mayfield a lot of credit, because no matter what's going on with him and Odell Beckham Jr., the bottom line is he shouldn't have had to deal with something involving Odell Beckham Jr.'s daddy. Yeah. And the fact that that happened makes Odell Beckham Jr. look bad, whether it was his fault or not, whether he was involved or not. It just makes you look bad. Baker Mayfield could have pounced on it, and nobody could have said a word. He did not do that. He left that for everybody else to do. I think it was smart. I think it was shrewd. I think it was incredibly professional. And I think that he showed you yesterday why the folks in Cleveland like him, but why the media should like him a little bit more, because guess what? He didn't lie. He didn't lie. And I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, Stephen A., I totally agree, man. I think it was one of, if not his best days as a professional. If we remember the conversation about Baker Mayfield coming out of school, it was he's this kind of egotistical, brash, childlike behavior, and he's never going to mature to be a franchise quarterback. And I think yesterday was his greatest day as a professional when it came to that role. That being said, Odell Beckham needs to be gone from the Cleveland Browns. This should be the final straw that your quarterback, who's playing with a broken left shoulder, has to answer this question Wednesday in really a game week that is a must-win against the division rival. He's got to answer questions about his play, and he's got to defend his play when it comes to, right now, one of your star receivers. You cannot function as an organization with Odell Beckham continue to be a part of that locker room or that football team. When I saw that he was excused from today's practice, my mind went to Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin. I think they're the two best coaches in the NFL when it comes to handling the noise and dealing with the elephant in the room. What would both of those coaches do right now today? I truly believe that they would move on from Odell Beckham because it's the best thing for the football team. Mike Tomlin talks all the time that we'd rather have volunteers than hostages. Right now, Odell is holding your football team hostage. He's holding your quarterback hostage, so to speak, when it comes to what transpired in his silence after the video that his father released. If the Browns want any chance to save their season and contend to make the playoffs, they need to move on from Odell Beckham today.
I think he'll be doing Odell a favor. I think he would welcome that. Thank you very much.
That's what this is about.
He really wants to get out of there. But listen, Baker Mayfield, listen, when are we starting to hold our kids accountable for what our parents say, right? Or what our wives say, our spouses say. We've heard Giselle pop off. We've heard Tom Brady father pop off. We've seen Baker Mayfield's wife pop off. Like, what are we talking about, man? Listen, I don't think that this is something that Odell Beckham, what do you want to do, go curse his dad out? Like, he's had to be respectful there as well. Listen, this hasn't worked out, and I think that, they need to do him a favor and let him go. But, the fact remains the same that Baker hasn't performed well. Go ahead, Dan. Go, please. Please, go it.
Well, no, let me take this, because here's the deal. I've been on the air for weeks saying Odell Beckham Jr. needs to go.
Yeah.
I say, don't tell me he's done. This brother can ball, and I believe that if he went to a right situation with a better quarterback, which to me Baker Mayfield is not. I think Baker Mayfield is a slightly above average quarterback. That's how I view Baker Mayfield. I actually consider him the weak link of their offense. Your offensive line is stout. Your running game is stout. You got quality receivers and tight ends. The only question mark with your offense is Baker Mayfield. I've been on the record saying that, and I definitely don't believe Odell Beckham Jr. is done. And I definitely think that you're doing Odell Beckham Jr. a favor by letting him not report. But that doesn't negate the fact that Dan is right that he has to go. What we're saying, Dan, is that that's what Odell Beckham Jr. wants. He wants it to get to a point where you get him out of there. He was begging for them to get him out of there before the trade deadline, and they didn't. So really, the issue is with Stefanski because of some of the play calling. Baker Mayfield has some culpability, and also with GM Berry, who is very well aware that that Odell Beckham Jr. did not want to be there any longer, and you didn't get rid of him. You kept him around. So to me, I look at them and I say, what's up with that? The brother didn't want to be there. He wasn't being utilized effectively enough. And not only that, he could have a cancerous effect on the locker room because he's a miserable individual being there. He's absolutely miserable. It's been reported all over the place. Why was he there after the trading deadline? That's the issue.
And I get that, but you can't have the vantage point of I'm giving Odell what he wants. That is why I brought up a Mike Tomlin or Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter what Odell wants or I'm doing him a favor. I have to do this for my football team. My football team, my quarterback, we cannot move forward if he's still on this roster. Am I doing him a favor? Am I giving him what he wants? I don't care. I have to focus on what's the best thing for the Browns. And if that means that Odell gets what he wants, Odell gets what he wants. But I'm not going to keep Odell there strictly to not give him what he wants while understanding that it's going to negatively impact the performance of my quarterback and my locker room. And Bart, to your point, I'm not sitting here saying that Odell, his dad did or did not speak for him. But it's 2021. If Odell's viewpoints did not align with what his father's video implied, you send out a social media statement saying that my father doesn't speak for me. You make it. Yes, you do.
Bart, listen, that's my father. I have respect for him as the man that raised me. I'm not going to go against my father, no matter whether you want me to do it or not. That's my dad. He raised me. I'm allowing him to do. He's his own person with his own opinion, and that's his right.
But you can make that
excuse me,
statement,
hold on 1 second. Excuse me.
Does
Bart,
Baker apologize for what his wife says?
Bart, in your heart of hearts, do you truly believe that Baker was unaware that his father was going to put out that video?
I mean, Odell, listen, I don't know what he knows, but like sometimes fathers pop off. Did Tom Brady know that his dad was going to go all in on Bill Belichick?
Absolutely. And then he cleaned it up after the fact.
Well, listen,
anything that comes out regarding Tom Brady, I firmly believe he co-signs
I'm just speaking
on.
from personal experience, right? Like on social media, my family, I don't even listen to half that stuff. My family goes and defends me tooth and nail. They go in, and right now the narrative is that Odell Beckham cannot play football anymore. The same narrative we had about Randy Moss when he went out to the Raiders, and he understands that this is a contract year for him because he has no more guaranteed money on his contract. So Cleveland's going to let him go, and I'm not getting an opportunity to represent myself so I can earn a living.
Hold on. Let me come to Dan's defense slightly with this. I don't think anybody worth their salt would ask or expect Odell Beckham Jr. to come out and disrespect his father. I do believe, however, and I'm gonna ask you this question, Bart, is there anything wrong with with Odell Beckham Jr. sitting up there and saying, well, that's my dad. He got his opinion. I love my pops. That's his opinion. It's not mine, but I respect my father. What y'all want me to say? That's my daddy. I mean, I'm saying he could say the same thing you just said. He could be like, look, that's my dad. I love my dad now. You know what I'm saying? Now, that was him. He's his own man.
Emotional, yeah.
He's his own man. He can say what he wants. He can do what he wants. Yeah. Just understand that's him speaking for him. That's not necessarily speaking for me. But don't expect me to ever go against my daddy and disrespect my dad.
Yeah, I mean,
what's wrong with that?
He could have said that.
That's all I'm saying. But that's all I'm saying.
No, he could have handled it better. Listen,
but that's all we're saying.
My point now that Eric Berry, the GM, is holding Odell Beckham hostage. Andrew Berry, I'm sorry, is holding him hostage is absurd. Because why are you sending this guy home? If I'm Odell Beckham, I'm calling the NFLPA saying, listen, I did nothing detrimental to the team. I didn't make these statements. I need to be allowed to earn a living because if I'm not allowed to get on the football field, I'm not allowed to be able to put a resume out there. But if you do cut me, I can earn a living. The reason why they don't want to let him go is because he may walk across the division to the Baltimore Ravens or to one of those other teams. They have to see him.
That's what I'm saying. So my point is this. Odell Beckham Jr. should not be complaining about not having to show up. Right. He should be complaining if they say stay home and we ain't going to move you.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So I ain't going to let you go.
Okay, those comments from Aaron Rodgers back in August are extremely important now. More news since we last discussed this yesterday, gentlemen. Rodgers tested positive for COVID-19. We knew that. We now know he's unvaccinated and will miss this weekend's game against the Chiefs. This shocked the NFL world because he said in August, as you just heard, that he'd been immunized. Now, since training camp opened in late July, sources said Rodgers follows masking protocols while interacting with players and coaches inside the team's headquarters at Lambeau Field. However, Rodgers does not wear a mask while in the media auditorium during his weekly and post-game news conferences, which he would be required to do as an unvaccinated player. The Packers have put other unvaccinated players on Zoom instead of at an in-person media session. The NFL is currently reviewing the situation with the Packers for a league statement on Wednesday afternoon. Now, Packers coach Matt LaFleur is asked point blank if Aaron Rodgers is vaccinated. Take a listen.
I'm not going to get into any of our coaches or players' vaccination status. Just know that he won't be available this week.
Aaron himself addressed it in August when he was asked about a vaccination status and said, oh yeah, I've been immunized. Do you feel like a quote like that might be seen as misleading to fans?
It's a great question for Aaron. I'm not going to comment on it.
I don't think it's a selfish decision. I mean, he's our leader, like you said. He's 100% committed to this team, just like anybody else is in this locker room. And just because of status doesn't mean that you're uncommitted or committed.
All right, here's a statement from NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy. The primary responsibility for the enforcement of the COVID protocols within club facilities rests with each club. Failure to properly enforce the protocols has resulted in discipline being assessed against individual clubs in the past. The league is aware of the current situation in Green Bay and will be reviewing the matters with the Packers. Well, the Packers clearly protecting Aaron Rodgers in this case. Stephen A., I will start with you because he is that bad man. How bad does Aaron Rodgers look this morning?
Well, we all know where I stand with Aaron Rodgers. I'm the one that coined the phrase, he's a bad man, because he is. I think as a talent, one could easily say he's the greatest talent at the position. I know this. This is one of the hardest days I've ever had because I got that much love for this brother as a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers looks very bad today for all the wrong reasons. Aaron Rodgers is a liar. Period. he lied through his teeth with a smirk on his face regarding a matter that is very, very serious. Now, I'm not going to get into vaccination or unvaccinated because everybody's got their theories and their views or whatever. I'm double vaccinated. It's something that obviously I've taken a position after going to an ICU unit and seeing a whole bunch of black folks in there and how it was disproportionately affecting the black community. I've talked about that story and I've told that story, but I've also been receiving calls over the last few weeks, particularly involving Kyrie Irving and others, where you've got people that have made very potent cases in reverse. Got all of that. Not trying to go there. This is not about Aaron Rodgers being vaccinated or unvaccinated. This is about Aaron Rodgers looking at reporters and looking into the cameras with a smirk on his face and telling a bald-faced lie. Period. And that's where this is bad. Because when you are considered a liar, okay, you lied about that, so what else did you lie about? You lied about Gutekunst. You lied about what was going on with the Green Bay Packers. What else you been lying about? Because you did it with such ease, such fluidity. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just very, very impressive. And it was slick as hell. Yeah, I'm immunized. You take the Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, all right? According to the NFL, that means you're not considered vaccinated. You knew this, but never said anything. The Packers are culpable, too, because they knew it. And you were still addressing the media without wearing a mask. You weren't following NFL protocols. I heard somebody on the radio, I think, talking about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is not vaccinated. We all know this. He's got a mask when he's on the sidelines. He's got a mask when he goes on the field and he's greeting other players. He's got a mask when he's addressing the media, etc. So Carson Wentz was following protocol. As a football player, understanding NFL guidelines, but recognizing the fact that he didn't want to get vaccinated. So as a result, this is what he did. Aaron Rodgers wanted the best of both worlds. He didn't want to follow the protocol, but at the same time, he didn't tell everybody that he was required to follow the protocol because he gave the impression that he was vaccinated. I don't like sitting here and saying that. I love me some Aaron Rodgers. Everybody knows that. I religiously and continuously throughout the years, Molly, you can attest to this, has come to this man's defense time and time and time again. But you lied. And you were slick with it.
Well, he wanted people to believe that he was vaccinated.
That's lying.
That's lying. That's what I do think that's interesting.
He's lying, and that's
so he clearly doesn't feel that good about his decision because he could have just owned it or not answered it.
But the fact that he didn't own it speaks to his character. Exactly. And it's not going to stop at this because now that your character has become a question mark, now they're going to question everything.
You know, and listen, you hit the nail right on the head. And listen, sometimes we try and put lipstick on a pig. You got to call a lie a lie. He knew he was being deceitful. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he wanted to have the public perception that he was vaccinated. Yeah. That's why in a public setting, he didn't wear a mask, even though it's reports saying that he did follow the protocol within the building. I find that hard to believe. The NFL knew that he wasn't vaccinated, and they didn't hold him accountable. I mean, how about the players that he greeted after the game? Right, you talk about, talking to Kyler Murray, whispering in his ear, all the other players that he put at risk. It's one thing, it's your personal decision, it's your personal decision. But you can't walk around and put other people at risk. He's John Wick at the Halloween party. Players that are not vaccinated aren't even allowed to be in rooms or gatherings of 3 or more. We've seen other organizations, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, disciplined for this. Now you have to hold Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers accountable, and you have to look into why the people that watch the NFL, we can talk about guys getting fined and CeeDee Lamb getting fined for not raising his socks past his knees, but if people who have watched Aaron Rodgers for the betterment of almost 2 months, walk around, greet players, talk to players from other teams on the sideline, and now not only does he have COVID, he potentially exposed his quarterback in the room to COVID.
Yeah, I agree with both of the things that you guys are saying. I think, number one, we need to hear from Aaron Rodgers. There's some things in life that, we don't deserve an answer to. This is one that we have to hear from Aaron Rodgers in regards to. Okay, so getting vaccinated is a choice. Now, as an NFL player, if you choose to not be vaccinated, what is your responsibility and is not your choice is to unequivocally know exactly what you can and cannot do as an unvaccinated player. It is your responsibility to know all the things that you are able to do as a player, both within your own building, within your own team, going on the road to hotels, in gatherings and postgame. That is your responsibility. And if you break that protocol, whether knowingly or unknowingly, does not matter. It is not a choice to know whether you can or cannot. It is your responsibility. And so if Aaron and the Packers or the Packers have broken protocol, whether knowingly or unknowingly, because once you choose what you choose vaccination-wise, it is then your responsibility to know it. If they have broken protocol, then the penalty needs to be severe, because they cannot overlook it because it's the Packers or because it's Aaron Rodgers.
Of course.
This needs to be right. This needs to be a very black and white process for the NFL.
And some of these players might go home to folks and their families that are immune compromised, and this could have very detrimental effects. But this is what I still want to get back to. Stephen A., why did he want to front publicly like he was vaccinated?
Molly, Dan Orlovsky answered it best. We don't know. We need to hear from him. Because the fact of the matter is...
What do you think?
He comes across as a coward. If you're not vaccinated, man up and say so. Like, yo, he wanted his cake and to eat it too. Yeah. He didn't want to get vaccinated, but in the same breath didn't want to have to deal with the questions or potential fallouts of being an unvaccinated player. Well, Carson Wentz is dealing with it. Other players have dealt with it. Kirk Cousins dealt with it. I mean, what's the deal? You didn't want to deal with it. You wanted the best of both worlds. And see, what that brings into question is, what else were you that way about? If you cared so much about how you were going to be looked upon, if you cared so much about avoiding controversy, avoiding questions and probing and all of this other stuff, with this, what other issues were you that way about? That, I promise you, that eventually is going to be a question mark. Folks are going to use this as an excuse to now question everything you said about everything that's been going on over the last couple of years. Was Green Bay really that bad? Did Gutekunst really treat you that way? Matt LaFleur, are you sure you really feel the way that you feel about him? What are you saying behind his back? What are your position on these players? What's your position on these issues? Why is it that you really, really want to leave Green Bay? You sure you really want to leave? Or are you just trying to angle for a lengthier contract to next year and beyond? What's the reason, Aaron Rodgers? They're going to ask all of these things because something is basic as being honest about whether you were vaccinated or not as it pertains to following safety protocols handed down to the National Football League. Not only could you not be honest about that, with a smirk on your face, you tried to deceive everybody. And damn it, it worked. Yeah. Because we had a reporter on here yesterday, Rob here, yesterday was like, damn, we missed that. He said, I'm immunized, and he gave this lengthy answer, and we didn't think to, because he said, yeah, I'm immunized. Yeah. He gave the impression that he was vaccinated, and he was lying.
And let's take the gray out, Stephen A. Let's take the gray out from the team perspective, that if they were violating, they knew they were violating. But the crazy part is, were they so afraid of the relationship with Aaron Rodgers that they allowed him to go around that building and do exactly what he wanted to, because he should have been on Zoom calls. They knew he wasn't vaccinated. They knew he had petitioned the NFL and tried to say that the treatment that he has, it's black or white. You either took the shot or you didn't take the shot. With alternative treatments is not being immunized, is not being vaccinated for COVID-19. And I think they have to hold him accountable. And this should be draft picks and suspensions, because it's been at least a minimum of $500,000. He's been doing this for the betterment of 2 months, and the NFL is going to ask for the security cameras to see in the common areas if he's been following protocol. If he hasn't, they should bring the hammer down on him, because not only did he put himself at risk, he put the organization at risk as well, because his behavior, he could have contracted.
Hold it. When you say he brings the hammer down, what are you saying, Bart? He should be suspended?
I think he should be suspended. Yes, absolutely, because he knowingly deceived and knowingly broke the rules repeatedly. So he needs to be held accountable. They need to lose draft picks, money, but you have to hold Aaron Rodgers responsible as well.
Dan,
I think the reality is.
Dan, I have to say this real quick. I don't know about the draft pick part.
Well, that's what's happened in the past, though.
Okay,
that's already been happening. I think it's happened with the Ravens.
Okay, if
the Packers are trying to protect him.
If there's precedent, I'm good with it. But I will say this, Dan, in light of this, I actually do think Aaron Rodgers should be suspended. I really do. For lying. for lying.
It's never about the
Yeah.
crimes, about the
Well,
cover.
compromising other people's health. That's really why. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you remember last year with the Denver Broncos, their quarterbacks tried to cut out the tracking devices in their pads or jerseys to make sure. So that was deception as well. And there was severe penalty to the Broncos. The reality is this: every choice has a consequence. In this case, the consequences will not only be felt by the individual, the consequences will be felt by everybody within that Green Bay Packers building. And that's just something that the quarterback, if he comes out and says what we believe has happened over the past 48 hours is true, is going to have to deal with.
And that's the amazing part. The Green Bay Packers, like, what are you thinking?
They're complicit.
I'm saying, but what are you
But
thinking?
Stephen A., think about they're trying to keep this man happy.
Right,
You
that's
can't
what I'm
say
saying.
this was the wrong instance to do it, but you can't say they didn't protect him. They
just
clearly
saying, but
protected the fact that they kept that under wraps this far into the season.
What if he endangered? You know, the only thing that I can surmise is that if you know, because we're all thinking, okay, according to the science, you're endangering other people, right?
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers. Right. Maybe there's people in their leadership position that didn't feel he was endangering other people because they feel the way he does, which means they're probably lying too.
All right. We're going to have much more on this.
It's
Let
way
me get
bigger than
into
Nino Brown.
a quick commercial break. Still to come on First Take. Riddle me this.
I just
If
look a little like Nino
Belichick
Brown.
leads the Pats to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, what does that do? Has been pretty solid. What's your focus this week, Mac Jones?
I think every week's a new week, and the goal is to go 1-0 that week. So the record in the past doesn't really matter, and the record in the future doesn't really matter. So you just try and go 1-0 every week, and then eventually, you know, a bunch of good weeks turn into a good month, and then you just go from there. So I think it's more focused on what we can do this week to win the game. And obviously we've made progress, but we're not looking back at this point.
Now, did Nick Saban teach him that? Did Bill Belichick? Did
Marlon,
Belichick?
let me tell you something,
Yeah.
okay? Because I come from the school of New England.
Yeah.
Everything you hear, everything you heard from Mac Jones right there, that's regurgitated.
Yeah.
It's regurgitated right from the top, right from Bill Belichick.
And here's what I don't mind about it. I don't mind about it. He's a rookie. And so when you walk in there, I do think you need to march lockstep with a legendary coach. You do need to follow that. You can venture out as you get older. I know you don't. I know you don't. You can venture out later. But him being a rookie and being the quarterback, listen, that's the reason that they were so comfortable with giving him the job as early as they did. They could have waited a few weeks before putting him in that position. But when you see a guy that walks in there and he's marching lockstep with the vision and the agenda or the organization, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, Mac Jones has been sensational on the field and off. I mean, as a rookie. Dan, I'll start with you. Do you think Bill Belichick has won his last Super Bowl in New England?
No, I think Bill Belichick can win a Super Bowl with Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is the best rookie quarterback that I have ever seen since doing this job when it comes to knowing where to go with the football, when to go with the football, and how to throw that football. And I think that is going to be a huge reason why that they can win a Super Bowl together. Molly, I look at it in comparison to where the Patriots are right now and the people that they're going to have to beat out to get to the Super Bowl, basically out of the AFC. And it's focused on the financial freedom that a really good quarterback is going to afford them over the next 4 or 5 years. We've heard that story before, right? And so I think of like the Buffalo Bills. Well, Josh Allen just got paid, so they don't have the financial freedom that New England does for the next 4 or 5 years. I think of the Cincinnati Bengals. They got a 1-year lead because they're having to break off Joe Burrow. The Chargers, they're going to have to break off Justin Herbert. They also have a 1-year lead or 1-year gap, so to speak. Baltimore is going to have to spend so much money to pay Lamar Jackson. I think of Kansas City. They just had to pay Patrick Mahomes. So the financial freedom that Mac Jones is going to give this football team moving forward while playing at a very high level is another kind of moment or representation of why it is going to look similar to Tom Brady's time. I also look at the money that they spent this past year and going, Hunter Henry's starting to play good football. Jonnu Smith's starting to play good football. Matthew Judon, in a lot of people's eyes, is the best free agent signing of the offseason. So I just think Bill Belichick has done a fantastic job with this football team. I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think they can win a Super Bowl with Mac Jones as their starting quarterback.
Listen, I agree with a lot of points that Dan just made.
Okay.
I think the huge part of this is the rookie contract. Because, Stephen, as we know, when you're on a rookie contract, it allows you to do things as far as roster management that guys who are guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Those organizations can't do that because you're paying so much to your quarterback. So with Mac Jones playing as well as he is right now, this dude is only going to get better, and New England is only going to be able to add more pieces around him because he's on his rookie contract. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, when you're looking at the AFC, there's a lot of parity in the AFC right now. People talk about Buffalo. People talk about, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals. It seems like every week we say this team is the top team, and then guess what happens? They lose.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in the AFC right now.
For sure.
So when you're looking at the New England Patriots, think about it. They just went on the road and beat Los Angeles Chargers to, going up against a guy in Justin Herbert, who we've lauded. I've lauded many a time.
Love
That was a
Justin.
really impressive win.
That's a big time win by the New England Patriots. So by no means is it Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. That's ridiculous.
Let me chime in here and be somewhat of a contrarian because I want to get time in to give it back to you and Dan real quick. I have the ultimate faith in Bill Belichick, the coach. I think that man can win another Super Bowl. I think this year he's just reminding us his greatness as a coach, okay? I think he's phenomenal. Bill Belichick, the GM, the executive, I'm not so sure. Let's understand something. At some point in time, you got to have talent. Now, Mac Jones was a gimme. Now, I know we're going to give him credit for Mac Jones. He didn't move up to get Mac Jones. Mac Jones fell in his lap at number 15. Obviously, Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence and these boys, and they were all gone, okay? And we get all of that. We understand that. He fell into Mr. 15. The reason I say that is because, as you know, they've had me down at Alabama a couple of times giving the speech motivation to the players, okay? And I happen to know how close Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are. All right. And so when you take that into consideration and the fact that he's had a few visits down there and he's fully aware of who Mac Jones is and all Mac Jones brings to the table. I mean, damn, it didn't take Einstein for you to grab the reigning national champion at the quarterback position who came out of college, not only winning the national championship, but completing 77% of his passes his last year at Alabama.
14 teams passed on him.
There we go. I understand that. But that's what I'm saying. They passed on him. So if you Bill Belichick, of course you go grab him. All right. Here's my issue. We got Janu Smith, we got Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, cats like that. There's no DK Metcalf on there. There's no A.J. Brown on there. There's a couple of people that Bill Belichick has passed on. If you look at his history of drafting, particularly at the wideout spots, it's been a challenge for him, to say the least. All I'm trying to say is that the coach, somebody that I have the ultimate faith that can do the most with limited assets, is Bill Belichick.
You
might need to do a little more than that.
You're not giving enough credit about the Mac Jones pick, though.
Okay, let me say this. Let me refute what what you just said right here.
Okay, sure.
From a guy who played with the Patriots organization for 5 years, 4 years with Bill Belichick. The one thing about the Patriots organization, a lot of the times throughout their whole dynasty, New England was never the most talented team. If you break them down in individual parts, they were never the most talented team.
Yeah.
But that's not Bill Belichick's mantra.
I know.
His whole thing has always been each individual. If you do your job, do what I ask you to do. Each of you do your job what I ask you to do, then collectively, we're going to be one of the best teams in the league because I'm going to outcoach whoever the opposing team is. Absolutely. That's the way New England operates. So this whole notion of, yes, I understand Bill Belichick is not the best GM, and I give credence to that. But when it comes to putting the culture together and having players buy in, there's no one better.
I got to give him credit for just landing a franchise quarterback, and not everybody saw Mac Jones.
I did. Yes, we did.
I agree with you, Molly. I would say this. I think Mac Jones went to the Patriots because of information, not because they lucked into it. I think Bill Belichick did a great job of understanding who was ahead of him in the draft and who was potentially going to go up and their interest level in Mac Jones. I do not think that was a lucky thing. That was an information thing.
I understand. That's not what I meant. I get your point. You're absolutely right. He had, because you know what? he could have moved up in a panic move, not doing his homework, thinking somebody was going to take them earlier and said, let me get this guy. But he did. He had his information, his intel, and he got Mac Jones. I'm just saying
and he
for him.
wanted Mac.
Yeah, he wanted Mac, and he wanted Mac, and he waited for him. His intel told him, you can afford to wait for him. He'll be there for us at number 15, and that's what happened. So he does deserve credit for that. But there are too many drafts that Bill Belichick has been shaky on. And because of that, I believe with the parity that exists in the AFC, you can't afford to miss if you're going to win another Super Bowl.
Well, that's why he went out and spent all that money in free agency this past offseason.
But here's my pushback to that, Stephen A. Because I agree with you. I agree with you. The past drafts have not been good, but that's kind of changed the last 2 years. Like Kyle Duggar that they took at safety 2 years ago, he's playing really good. Barmore, who they took at Alabama, he's playing really good.
I'm talking
Obviously,
offense.
the Mac Jones, Najee Harris is playing. So the past 2 drafts have actually been very good for the New England Patriots, but that's why Damian Harris, tailback.
Okay.
But that's why the financial freedom matters.
Okay.
Because when you have the financial freedom and you miss on a draft pick or two, then you have the ability to supplement it with financial pieces or free agent financial pieces. I think that's why the financial freedom matters. I think they'll win a Super Bowl together.
All right.
Yeah. Some respect on Bill's name. Still to come on First Take, I wasn't talking to you. Don't get sensitive. The NFC is stacked. Oh, guilty conscience needs no accuser.
Dropping lines, send the
guilty conscience needs no accuser. I had a great bump. We've got a lot to talk about in the NFC. On the West Coast, the Rams are tied for first place in the toughest division in football at 7-1 alongside the Arizona Cardinals. They added a major weapon on defense, 8-time Pro Bowl standout and 3-time All-Pro outside linebacker Von Miller. Let's check in with the newest member of the Los Angeles Rams.
Starting to feel real good. If you look at all the talent that we have, I went to sleep 4-4 and woke up 7-1. It's not, it's not, on the back end of things, it's not really that bad. And, it's better for me, it's better for the organization. And you just got to, let reality sink in. I get to play with, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and Leonard Floyd and, Matthew Stafford. This team's ready to win right now, ready to win championships right now. And I'm excited to be a part of it.
Dan, Marcus Spears missed you, so I invited him on. He said he couldn't wait till 4 o'clock.
No, I haven't seen him in like 16 hours, and I won't work with him again for another 5. So
Hold on.
Togetherness.
Yeah, Stephen A.
It's like me and Stephen A.
All right, well, I'm going to let it go because he put on a jacket.
Why? What's wrong with his outfit?
Before he came on the show, he didn't have on a jacket. And I was just sitting there saying, damn, have you ever heard of an iron?
Man, it was very wrinkled.
It was very wrinkled and just.
Is this nice to do this to your teammate?
There's a dress code, but he put on a
they
jacket.
Not my teammates.
But he put on.
They just some dudes I work with.
Really? Oh, you went there? You went there? I'm not taking your FaceTime call no more. I'm not taking your FaceTime call. You are banned from calling me on FaceTime. So when Dallas wins another game, I'm not going to answer your call. I'm just not going to answer your call. How dare he say that to me? I'm not his teammate. How dare you? How dare you? You understand?
Because teammates don't do this to teammates.
Teammates do exactly that.
Don't do this
you didn't have one. We looking out for you.
That's exactly what teammates do.
Ain't nobody else see it, Stephen A.
Look,
ain't
man.
Nobody else see it. You brought it up.
Listen.
You know
Rumble,
what,
Rumble, and Rumble.
Marcus, next time you're in New York, you just let me know. I'll steam it for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Rumble, young man, Rumble.
Molly, listen, Molly, listen. I'm not worried about these dudes. You know that. Y'all know me too well to be worried about them.
You need to be worried about your shirt.
Before we move on, may I make a confession?
And I got pajama shorts on too.
Damn.
I don't give a damn. Y'all
You gonna
know
tell
that.
the world that? You gonna tell the world that? Such shamefulness.
Yeah.
I will confess this though.
What?
I'm looking at Marcus, the shaved head and the whole thing. I will confess. I actually thought about going the bald look and letting the beard grow. I said,
really?
you know what? I might try that.
Why
one
don't
day.
you try it?
Try it.
I might try it.
Try it.
We never know with me. We
I'm
just
telling
never
you,
know.
man, I would pay $10,000 to get Marcus's beard. Up close and personal, that beard is so special.
That's right.
Okay. I've had our
Silky,
producer
ain't it,
in our ear for the last
Let's go.
5 minutes to get to the question. Now that we're done talking about ourselves. All right. So the Rams, they face the Titans, who are without King Henry, of course. They did get Adrian Peterson. Stephen A., do you think the Rams are actually the team to beat in the NFC? Because we've talked a lot about the Cowboys and the Cardinals.
I think they will be, but I don't think they are right now. I think right now, those Dallas Cowboys are the best team. I think it's important to say that. The Dallas Cowboys right now, You understand? They look like the best team in the NFC. I mean, they are flowing. The fluidity is there. You got a backup quarterback.
I don't even know what that means.
I mean, the fluidity is there. I mean, they just seem seamless with what they're doing. The running game is stout. The offensive line is there. Your receivers are there. Schultz at the tight end spot looks pretty good. Defensively, you got two potential defensive player of the year dudes, Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. Okay, Randy Gregory is balling. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be back. I mean, I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys right now, and I think they're very formidable.
Yes,
now let's understand this. Let's understand this. They look good now.
Oh.
Okay, halfway through the season.
You know what? I really don't get paid enough to have to
And what
hear
happens is that every time you stick up for them and stuff like that and build expectations, they come crashing down. You understand? And I suspect that will be the case again. But for right now, that is them.
Okay. Let's carry on.
This is a very volatile relationship that I have with you, bro. Like this is not healthy for you or I when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, because in one breath they the best team, and in the second breath you're waiting on the downfall. I don't know how to take it. I'm gonna take it at face value. He lukewarm. I'm gonna take it at face value though, and I'm gonna just go with the part where you said the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. And I firmly believe that they are the best team in the NFC at this point during the season. The Rams upgraded tremendously with Von Miller. If you look at names of players, you would say the Rams are the better team if you look at it from an individual standpoint. They playing well, got a great record, been playing high-level football. Matt Stafford has changed what that offense can be. Sean McVay is in this bag now because he has a quarterback that he trusts. But there is nobody right now that you would equate to the Dallas Cowboys going on the road and winning with a backup. Running the same game plan. They weren't limited in that game. They didn't have Kellen Moore didn't call a scared football game. He called the game like he knew his team was good, regardless of the situation and circumstance that they were in going into that with Dak Prescott. It was impressive to only give up 16 points to the Minnesota Vikings. Look, the Dallas Cowboys got one loss, and that's against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first game of the season. And had it not been for missed field goals, they probably would have won that game as well, and not getting Tom Brady the ball back late in the game. This team, the team in Dallas, not the individual guys. I know we focus on Dak Prescott and we focus on Trayvon Diggs, what he doing this year, getting interceptions. They playing without DeMarcus Lawrence right now defensively, which is going to add a boost when he comes back. They've not had Lyle Collins, who's one of the better offensive right tackles in the NFL. They've not had him for majority of the season. This team right now in Dallas is the best team in football.
All right. First of all, Stephen A., the Bible tells us we can't be lukewarm. Pick a side. You can't tell me that right now the Cowboys, and I think in the end it's the Marcus, you too. The show's called First Take, not tell us who's good in the NFC. We know the Cowboys are good. Right now, the NFC, and this is different because of the Von Miller trade, it's the Los Angeles Rams. They are the team that I think will go to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC. I think they got the best coach. I think they got the best quarterback. I think they got the best receiver. If we're talking about them versus the Dallas Cowboys, we know the Cowboys are good. We know the Buccaneers are good. We know the Green Bay Packers are good. Who's the best team in the NFC? And since the Von Miller trade went down, and he's added to that defense, the Los Angeles Rams are the team to beat. I heard you all offseason say that Matthew Stafford was under the most pressure. Well, that has just gotten elevated more. I heard you say that Sean McVay was under the most pressure. I heard that has just gotten elevated more. I know the Cowboys are good. The show is First Take. Give me a take. Don't tell me you think everybody is good. Who do you think is the best team in the NFC? It's the Los Angeles Rams.
Right now, I think it is the Dallas Cowboys. I haven't seen Von Miller on this team yet, so I'm allowed to make that selection. That's number one. Number two, you don't get to come on this show and tell me what my agenda is supposed to be. Don't mess with my agenda.
I was hoping he was talking to you.
I have a plan.
Oh, I know what your plan is.
I have a plan, Dan. I know exactly what I'm doing, okay? I'm just setting it up, and I'm setting people up, and I'm using them like the pawns they are, because I got a plan, all right? Don't mess with my plan. I know what I want to happen, and I know what I can do to facilitate it happening, and that's exactly what I'm doing, okay? So Dan Orlovsky is not going to ruin my plan. Swagoo rolling his eyes with his wrinkled shirt. Gonna change my plan, okay? And by the way, Swagoo, while you at it, you might want to move.
You can't take it back.
LSU. You might want to move that LSU helmet away from the cameras.
You can't
when
take
we
it
get
back.
the big view. You might not want to show that in this particular week, okay? You might not want to do that.
Every day.
All right.
This all day, every day.
Okay.
This all day, every day.
I'm going to leave it with
Right.
this.
That's right.
Stephen A.
disappointed
Hey,
A.
Molly,
is just
Molly, hold on
preying
one
on
second,
the
Molly.
Dallas Cowboys'
Molly.
downfall. That's
Yes.
what this is all about.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's
I
putting
guess
that in the
Twisted
universe.
mind.
But we
Putting
know
that
that.
in the universe.
We know that. We know that. We know that. We know that Stephen A. ain't breaking no news, that he waiting on the downfall of the Dallas
I know
Cowboys.
that.
Yeah.
But we also know right now he feels that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC.
That's true.
We gonna live in that moment.
We gonna
And
live
I don't
in
know
that
what
moment.
the hell Dan talking about. I clearly said the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. Right? Clearly, we can run the tape back.
How
It's
you going to be on
tape.
NFL
The
Live
tape
with
don't
me and
lie.
rave about the
They are
Von Miller
best team.
edition, and then that doesn't change anything?
Because it's warranted to rave about it. The question today on First Take is, who's the best team?
We gotta go.
And I said the Dallas Cowboys.
Listen,
We disagree.
there's this team
It's
called
very
Tampa
normal
Bay,
in our
the Tampa
family.
Bay Buccaneers.
Well, Molly,
we all
well,
seem to
well, Molly,
forgot
you're
about
missing-
that.
you're
But
missing
I'm
the
not a
bigger point.
debater.
You're missing the bigger
I'm
point,
just the
Molly.
host.
You're missing the
We
bigger
have to
point.
go. We have to go.
Dan and Marcus, calm down.
Oh my gosh.
I'll see
Still
you
to
in 5
come.
hours.
Jay Will joining us next. Aaron Rodgers has been doing unmasked press conferences, yet nobody is giving him the Kyrie treatment. And Jay is wondering. Representation is engaged with Cleveland GM Andrew Berry on the next step for the wide receiver. We'll debate which team should pursue OBJ coming up. But more news since we last discussed this yesterday, gentlemen. Positive for COVID-19. This is Aaron Rodgers. We now know he's unvaccinated and will miss this weekend's game against the Chiefs. This shocked the NFL world because he said in August that he had already been immunized. Take a listen.
Are you vaccinated, and what's your stance on vaccinations?
Yeah, I've been immunized. There's a lot of conversation around it, around the league, and a lot of guys who have made statements and have made statements, owners who made statements. There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys.
Well. Jay Williams, it's good to have you with us.
It's good to be back.
And when we're talking about the subject of superstar athletes and vaccination status, makes me think of Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, how does the Rodgers situation compare to Kyrie's?
It doesn't. They are drastically different.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is exponentially worse. There was not only a lie, there was an intent to lie. And it just a couple of things for you, Stephen A., because we obviously have this gripe. I have this gripe with you. Because
It's both of us.
Yeah, it's fine. I wrote down some things that you said here.
Sure.
So 3.5 weeks ago, you said it amounts to betrayal for Kyrie. You've said, quote, flat out stupid as relates to what he's doing. Quote, bad teammate. Quote, selfish. October 16th on CNN. To the hell with you. You say all of these things about Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie Irving was very upfront and honest about what his situation was. Mm-hmm. He wasn't jeopardizing anybody else. He didn't put anybody else on the Brooklyn Nets and their team at risk. When he was allowed to be around the team, he had his mask on. He abided by all the rules. But he was subject to mass criticism by you, animated criticism by you. Mm-hmm. And then I'm in a green room, and I watch you, and I see your points that you had against Aaron Rodgers, and I appreciate the stance by calling him a liar. I just didn't feel the same venom. I didn't feel the same energy that was associated with Kyrie Irving. And a part of me wonders, why? How come you don't hold Aaron Rodgers to the same, who lied on national, looked reporters in the eye and said, Yeah, I'm immunized.
Okay.
Why not? I don't understand that.
I can answer it. You ready?
Yes.
Well, first of all,
I came here to hear your answer.
Okay, well, first of all, number one, I wasn't sitting across from you talking about Aaron Rodgers. I was sitting across from Bart Scott and Dan Orlovsky, who both agreed with me. You and I were arguing, so that might have had something to do with my intensity level to answer that question directly. That's number one. Number two, let's go down the list about what I'm saying, because, again, I've been on the record. Aaron Rodgers is a liar. Aaron Rodgers to be suspended. Period. I don't know how much stronger I can be than that.
Okay.
Now, that's number three.
I heard Bart say he should be suspended. I heard you tack on that. I didn't heard you leave.
All right.
No, I hear you, but listen to me. Right. When you set arguments now, when you feel passionate about something, you would say he should be suspended.
No. What I'm saying to you is that you and I were getting into an intense argument. Bart Scott, myself, and Dan Orlovsky were agreeing with one another. So what I'm saying is the level of intensity, which is what you brought up, since you were questioning my lack of intensity.
Yes.
I'm telling you why. Now I'm back with you again. Do I sound like I sound with Bart?
It sounds like you're passionate now.
No,
you care.
Because I'm sitting across from you. So again, to make my point, I feel that way about Aaron Rodgers. But let me tell you what the difference is, because you and I, see, this is where everybody gets confused about. They act like we talking about the vaccine. No, we weren't talking about it. The argument was, and to some degree it has something to do with the vaccine, do I believe that Kyrie Irving owes Kevin Durant and James Harden them to be there? You damn right. That's where you and I disagree. Because Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden are in Brooklyn because of Kyrie Irving. You know this. You know this.
Go ahead.
Kevin Durant, they can lie all they want. They can say whatever they want to say. Kevin Durant and them boys led folks to believe they were going to the Knicks. They were going to the Garden. Kyrie Irving is the one that was like, oh, let's make our own legacy. Let's do this. Now, I understand it wasn't a pandemic at that particular moment in time. I understand that a pandemic changes the course of things. But what I'm also saying is there's a whole bunch of people that didn't want to take the vaccine for the Brooklyn Nets. There's a whole bunch of people that didn't want to subject themselves to that. But they said, yo, we came here trying to win a chip. This is what we're trying to do. So my position, not yours, my position is, since you're the one that got them there, you should be riding right there with them. That's my position. Okay. The other point that I'm making is this, and I stand by this. And there are a lot of people that have called and been in support of Kyrie Irving, and I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers is not exponentially worse, because let me be clear, I agree with you with that. Okay. Aaron Rodgers is worse because he lied and Kyrie was honest.
Yes.
He lied and Kyrie was honest.
Yes.
And Kyrie was honest. But that's not my point. My point is, this is the first discussion I'm having about comparing the two. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers is not worse than Kyrie, but what I am saying about Kyrie also is that last several years, this brother want to show up to work when he want to show up to work. There's always an excuse. There's always an excuse not to show up to work. I believe, Jay, let me put this, Jay.
Don't go there. Don't do this.
This is how I feel. You said it. This is how I feel. I believe if it wasn't the vaccine, it'd be something else that got Kyrie Irving missing games.
It's fine. You're allowed to believe that.
That's what I believe. I got evidence, though. And you do, too. Yes, you do.
Of past behavior?
Yes. Yes.
Was Kyrie Irving available last year in the playoffs before he got hurt?
In the playoffs. I'm not talking playoffs. He was available in the playoffs. He was available in the playoffs, yes. He was available in the playoffs.
Okay.
He wants to come to work when he wants to come to work. You were at Brooklyn last night, right?
I was
at Brooklyn. I was at the game last night, too, right?
Yeah.
How we feel about that crowd? Don't you feel like it's dead up in there compared to the Garden?
Definitely
Don't you
different.
feel it's definitely different? You know what? Let me tell you, Kyrie could change that because he's a showstopper. He's box office.
Okay.
But you know what? How many games that brother's missed?
Come back for me for a second, because I don't want to go off on a tangent on the subject. Number one,
I was just answering your question about the intensity. All right.
Devontae Adams?
What about him?
You don't think he's relying upon Aaron Rodgers to do the right thing? The same accountability that you have Kyrie to Kevin Durant and James Harden? Aaron Jones? Wait, let me finish. Aaron Jones? You don't think he wants to win a
That's
Super Bowl?
not a discussion, because I agree with you.
Okay.
I said Aaron Rodgers is a liar. He should be suspended. He's lying.
Wait, in Aaron Rodgers' defense, we, the media, did not know, but his teammates did know.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So they knew that.
I don't even know if they knew.
Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones.
Okay, I don't even know if they
people
knew.
knew that he was unvaccinated. Within the organization, yes, they knew.
See,
Okay.
this
I
is...
didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
That's fine. Thank you for clarifying that.
Well, you want to go? Or you want
No,
me
go
to
ahead, go.
Dan, you want to jump in here?
I'm sorry, I didn't know Dan was there. My fault, Dan. I'm so locked in here.
You're good, Jay. I think that the word Jay used, accountability, does matter here. Jay, are you more upset that he didn't get the vaccine, or are you more upset that he said he's immunized?
No, the vaccination aspect of this, that's not a problem with me at all. Like,
so
that's
you're saying since he said I'm immunized, that's your issue?
Yes, because immunized would imply that you are vaccinated when that is not the case.
Yeah, so I said this in the first hour, Jay. I need to hear from Aaron. Like, I need to hear why he used that phrasing in that moment, because if his teammates knew that he was not vaccinated and the NFL knew that he was not vaccinated and the organization did, then why did he use that phrasing? I need to hear that. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know exactly what NFL players can and cannot do when it comes to vaccine and not vaccinated status, because it's not my responsibility to know right now. I'm not an NFL player. I don't know if protocol was broken. I'm being dead honest with you. I don't know if Aaron broke protocol or not when as an unvaccinated player. If he did, yes, then there needs to be penalties. Absolutely. I don't know if he did, because the rules and the protocol with vaccinated and unvaccinated is so deep and there's so many layers to it. I honestly don't know.
But then, so when you're doing a post presser for the Packers, other players who have been unvaccinated, they typically done those post pressers virtually.
But I don't know if that breaks protocol, Jay. Like, I don't know.
What about when you're on the field and you're whispering in the air in face of Kyler Murray and you knew you were not vaccinated?
But there's something about whether you're an active player versus inactive player that the vaccination status changes and all that. I'm telling you, that's why we need someone to tell us exactly what is allowed by a vaccinated player and non-vaccinated player, active and inactive. And I also said this, Jay, it's also the responsibility to know, once you choose to be non-vaccinated, it's your responsibility to know what you can and cannot do, both individual and team.
Mm-hmm.
I only feel that if you're at the post presser and you are unvaccinated, typically, like the way you've heard,
wear a mask.
You should wear a mask.
I don't want to belabor that point, because I agree with you.
Okay.
I want to get back to Kyrie, because you also said that I called him flat out stupid. That is inaccurate. I've never called him that. I said what he said was flat out stupid. Excuse me. Why did I say that? Because Kyrie Irving went on social media, and Kyrie Irving sat up there and said, I'm not against the vaccine. I didn't take the vaccine. I'm not against the vaccine. He was all over the place. And I know you saw it too.
Yep.
What I was saying was he wasn't clear. And I'm saying, if you're not clear about what your position is, then why are you doing what you're doing? And then what he said was, well, I want to give a voice to the voiceless. Well, who's voiceless? Who are you talking about? Who are these people that ain't being heard? What are you talking about? And oh, by the way, that's the reason you ain't playing? So you're not against the vaccine, but you're not playing to bring attention to what other people's plight are? That's what this is about? That's when I said, that's flat out stupid.
Why can't both things be accurate, though? Why can't you be uncertain about whether you want to get vaccinated or not, and still say there are a lot of people, there are millions of people out there that feel they're uncertain about it? Both things are true.
He didn't say that they were uncertain about it.
He just didn't say the way you wanted him to say it.
He said they were voiceless. I'm saying, who's voiceless?
Millions of people were voiceless.
Who? How?
A lot of people.
Who don't know them?
People don't have platforms like you have to talk every single day.
So how did he use his voice? Tell me that.
That he's uncertain. That proves a point.
Who doesn't know that these people don't want to be vaccinated in this day and age, Jay? Who don't know that? I'm just saying, everybody knows there's millions of people that don't want the vaccine. That is not voiceless. That is factually incorrect. He's walking around. Listen, we can make any excuses we want. Kyrie Irving has a right to take his position. He has that right.
I understand.
And I'm saying, and he was honest. And he was honest, and he deserves the credit for that. And he's costing himself money. That's real. And he deserves credit for that too. But we just going to ignore the fact that you got a franchise in Brooklyn that's sitting there and you're waiting for Eric Adams to take office, because I want to give you credit for that, by the way. Because you brought that up weeks ago. Nobody brought that up but Jay Williams. Talked about, hey, this guy comes in as mayor. He eradicates that mandate. Then Kyrie would be able to return back and play. How many games is going to be missed by that particular moment in time?
I don't know, but how many games could be missed by Aaron Rodgers, too? That's the point, too, right? It could be 2 games with COVID.
And Aaron Rodgers is worse because he's lying.
Thank you.
Because he lied.
I'm glad we agree that. I just, sometimes, I'm going to be very real with you right now. As a young African-American male, I just wanted to see what the public sentiment would be today. Because when I heard that kind of vitriol towards Kyrie, and watching it and the way he was politicized and the way he was hung out there to dry, I want to see if those same people are going to do the same thing with Aaron Rodgers.
And I think that
I want to see that.
That's right. And I'm also a black man.
I want to see that.
And I'm also a black man.
That,
so let's be very, very clear. The issue of blackness ain't a discussion here. The point is that in the case of Kyrie Irving, and he's not an orator or anything like that. So again, he may not say things right accordingly, and I get all of that. He's a basketball player, a highly intelligent one. He's not stupid like a lot of people try to say he was. But what you're missing is you keep pointing to the vaccine, and everybody's looking at him.
I didn't point to the vaccine.
No, people that
let me get in a commercial break.
because of anti-vaxxers. That's not the issue.
If you want to come back to this, we can. Let me get in a break. When we come back here on First Take, we might discuss this a little further. Obviously, this conversation is not going away regarding Kyrie or Aaron Rodgers. Odell Beckham, meanwhile, excused from practice again today. So whether it's the Saints, the Pats, the Raiders, several teams are being linked to Odell. Where should he wind up? Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers has turned into Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Jones. And
because if I put myself in Stephen A. Smith's body, I would have said he looked people in the eye and he lied. He flat out lied. He said, yes, I am immunized. I am. And then I feel, I understand people, those guys, not referring to himself as one of those guys, those guys. He was one of those guys. So that energy that you start a conversation with, it matters to people like me. Because know why? You set the tone for this network, for thousands of people that watch you. I think that's important. Can you understand that point? That's one. Number two, on the Kyrie Irving stuff. Kyrie Irving didn't even say anything for the longest time. He didn't say anything. This man just disappeared. And every day, it was Kyrie this, Kyrie that, Kyrie this, Kyrie that. And I get it, when he finally spoke, he didn't have the right words. It didn't come out the right way. But damn, the intent was there. So now my thing is, when I'm watching this, and I'm watching all this other stuff happen, here I was at watching a man that came out and flat out lied. With intent. Lied. This is how I feel. And I watched Kyrie kind of waver, go back and forth. I'm like, but man, we just chastised this dude for wavering. But this man is lying. And I just want to make sure we keep the same energy. That's all I ask for. I want exponential energy, actually. I want more energy than what you gave Kyrie, because that's deserving of it. I just want to make sure you carry it. Could you carry that torch, brother?
Well, a couple.
You carry that torch.
Well, a couple of things. Yeah, okay, fine. I carry the torch. So you know what? I'm a pretty damn good pro at this.
I know you are.
I know what I'm doing.
I just gave you your flowers.
Let me say this to you. The video of Aaron Rodgers saying what he said, I saw at the moment we showed that to start off the show. Kyrie Irving, when we were talking about him, we can pull up the tape. You didn't see me get intense until you and I were arguing about it. I was very calm in stating my position about Kyrie Irving until you and I started arguing, because you weren't on. Let me finish.
When you go into your Stephen A-isms now.
Time out. I'm giving you facts. I got tape. I'm saying the most intense I was sitting across from you, because you were waving the pom-poms to Kyrie, and I don't believe he deserves it. Let me finish. You spoke. I'm giving it to you. But I
said waving the pom-poms.
But that's how I felt. No, I didn't say now. I didn't say now. I was saying weeks ago.
Okay.
All right. That's how I felt about it. And then you and I got into it. That's number two. Number three, I'm going to repeat myself again. I have been complaining about Kyrie's Irving commitment, and I can validate it. Let me tell you something right now. KD signed his extension, right? KD signed his extension. James Harden has an extension that he can sign anytime he wants to. There was $196 million on the table for Kyrie Irving. Let me ask you this question, Jay, because I know you know. You think that $196 million going to be available to Kyrie come January?
No.
You damn right it ain't. And why? Not because of this. Because there's a history.
I understand
that he can't be trusted.
But you're talking to me about business down the line. You're not being. How
that's my position about Kyrie.
But how could you not? How could you not separate the pandemic as its own thing? Because you're reasoning to me. You said it live on the show. If it wasn't this, it would have been something, Jay. But this is something massive, Stephen A.
Because while the pandemic was going on,
it's still going on.
Come on, yes. While the pandemic, I was just making the point last year. While the pandemic was going on, there was a riot at the U.S. Capitol. And the same Kyrie that knew there was a pandemic then used the riots as an excuse to take off and then was partying with his sister. So what I'm saying to you is that there's inconsistencies with this guy.
He's saying it's a pattern of events. It's not the isolated incident, and why he has the ire towards Kyrie Irving versus Aaron Rodgers.
You're bypassing that is what I'm trying to say. You're just looking at this, and I understand.
I guess outside of this, is there validity to his point? Kyrie not wanting to play.
Yeah, I've never said that there wasn't validity to that.
To say that he doesn't want to play.
I never said that there wasn't validity to it. All I'm saying is that regardless of what happened in the past, you have to look at this particular situation as an outlier.
I give it to Jay.
This is unprecedented in history since
I'll stop right there.
the 1920s.
Jay, if you're talking about just the vaccine, the pandemic, Jay's right. But I'm saying to you, that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about Kyrie.
Okay.
I am not talking about the vaccine. I'm talking about a man that I believe finds an excuse to work when he wants. He doesn't want to answer. People are beneath him. He's above them, and he wants to do what he wants to do. Why you got your hand up for somebody else's mouth?
Last thing. Wait, hold on. Last thing before we wrap this up.
Right.
Do you think that Aaron Rodgers is receiving fair criticism?
I think that Aaron Rodgers, yes, because it's only going to intensify. It just started this morning, and it's going to intensify as the hours and days go on because he got caught in a bold-faced lie, and I said it brings everything into question about Aaron Rodgers, and it's only going to intensify.
Jay, go back to 2018. Winston Moss got fired because he said everything here is always about number 12. There's been a history here too now. Okay. Maybe not to the degree it's been for Kyrie Irving, but there's been a history around Green Bay.
New Orleans Saints, obviously Michael Thomas not coming back the rest of this season is a big deal. And I think they're a playoff contending football team. I think his relationship with Sean Payton would help there. Kansas City Chiefs, they need a number 2 wide receiver outside of Tyreek Hill. It depends on if they think their defense is going to get better, but I think that they need somebody kind of outside Tyreek and Travis Kelce to at least try to make that offense a little bit more explosive. The Green Bay Packers, I would have that conversation depending on, Aaron Rodgers' feelings on adding him. I'd say the New England Patriots, I think because of the past history with Bill Belichick and his desire to maybe add them. I think that he needs to be in an offense that creates a little bit of freedom for receivers, not precision. I think he's a guy that's more guidelines than rules. But if I was a team and you felt like he still was capable of playing football, I think there's a handful of teams. The New Orleans Saints, obviously, another one as well. I think there's a handful of teams that should be making the call.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I wouldn't say New England, Dan, because I think that they're a run-centric team. Even though they throw the football a little bit more than they run it, we all know that their success is predicated on the run, and they're bringing Mac Jones along slowly, and they're not going to really allow him to step out the box too much and really fling that football the way a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. needs it flung to him. Remember, he was in New York. Very, very frustrated by Eli Manning, who was just aging. We love Eli, it's just that he was aging, and we knew that he was inching towards retirement. He just didn't have it anymore, and that was a frustrating situation for him in the end. He goes to Cleveland. Baker Mayfield, we know he's good. We don't think he's great. We think he's slightly above marginal, slightly above average. He needs to be with somebody who can fling the football and in an offense that wants to air it out. My number 1 team would be the Los Angeles Rams. I think that you got Matthew Stafford. He could definitely fling that football. You got Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. But this is a guy that can elevate your vertical game with a quarterback like Matt Stafford flinging that football with the kind of play calling that Sean McVay wants to do and the fact that they're going to throw the football more than they run it. I think that's a way to go. That would be number 1 on my list. Kansas City doesn't seem to have put so much faith in anybody outside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I would see what I could do about getting him in front of Patrick Mahomes. I think about the Baltimore Ravens. We know Hollywood Brown could play, Bateman's back and what have you. But what's wrong with having another, a contribution to your vertical game outside of Hollywood Brown when Lamar Jackson has the escapability skills that he has and what he could do with something. So I'm looking at L.A. I'm looking at Kansas City. I'm looking at Baltimore. Of course, you're going to bring Green Bay into the mix, even though they got Valdez-Scantling, Lazard, of course, Randall Cobb, along with obviously Devontae Adams being that stud, again, with an Odell Beckham Jr. That's somebody that extends your vertical game, and we all know what Aaron Rodgers can do. And so when you look at it from that perspective and the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. would love to play with any of those quarterbacks, you're talking about a happier dude who's highly motivated with something to prove in a system where he knows he's going to get his share of looks. And that's where I'm at.
Dan, I want to stay with that subject really quickly because now we've seen what's happened with the New York Giants. Now we're seeing what's happening in Cleveland. So we're talking about top teams, and obviously we know what a special talent he is. Obviously some serious injuries, and some people thought maybe he's lost a step. That's debatable. But would you be concerned bringing him into your locker room?
It's a great question, Molly. Concerned, no. I would do my due diligence on what happened again in Cleveland. I'd have to have conversations with guys within that building, players within that building. I'd have guys in my locker room call guys on that team and figure out what happened. Was it more of a Baker thing or was it an Odell thing? Because we've heard the conversations of not getting the ball thrown to him in practice. So I would want guys calling the people within the Cleveland Browns player-wise to figure out exactly what it's been like. I wouldn't be concerned, but I would want to do my due diligence. And I would also say this, Molly, I think if he stays in Cleveland or whether he goes to a different team, if I was the quarterback or somebody that had input to that quarterback, I would make him call Eli Manning and figure out how Eli handled Odell on and off the field. Because he's the only quarterback that's got him to play well. He's the only quarterback that has had him perform at his absolute best. And I would have that quarterback reach out to Eli Manning. Maybe Eli communicated with him a certain way or talked about plays a certain way or handled them when he got him the ball a certain way or when he didn't get him the ball. I would want to know what happened in that Eli to Odell relationship that allowed Odell to thrive. And I would want my quarterback to have that conversation to see if he could learn something about Odell that obviously Baker Mayfield has not.
Well, Dan, I think you missed something here. Molly did too, but I'll forgive both of you because you're from Connecticut, so you wouldn't know any better. So let me help you out here. It wasn't Eli Manning that motivated Odell Beckham Jr. to play so well. It was New York City. It's just a different flavor. You know, as I tried to educate Molly about, go to the Barclays Center and then come to the Garden and you'll see the difference. It's night and day, y'all. It's night and day.
Is that why the LA connection for you?
Listen, the LA, well, I'm the weather. The weather is what does it for me. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I have beautiful friends in LA.
That's my quarterback.
I mean, LA is lovely.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is on a different level. The point that I'm trying to make is that you're in New York City, right? So the specter of being in New York, being in that bubble in all seriousness, y'all, it really, really matters because you're going to be held accountable in a way that may not be the case in Cleveland or somewhere else.
Hold on, time out. He's playing in the National Football League on national television. What bigger stage do you need? Why does it matter if he's with Cleveland, which people were saying had a chance to make it to the Super Bowl, or he's in New York, whether he plays well or not?
But when you ask those questions, Molly, you have to accept the answers even if you don't like them, because I'm about to give it to you. There's something to be said about being interested in the environment that you're in. For certain people, it's inspirational. Everybody has this little nugget, something that motivates you, that elevates you to another level. He's in New York first 2 seasons, has a 1,000+ yard season, gets hurt the 3rd year, comes back the next year, has another 1,000-yard season, goes to Cleveland his first year, 1,000-yard season. That wasn't the only place he had a 1,000-yard season in New York. He also had one in Cleveland. But here's the difference. You're under that spotlight in the bubble. You make one spectacular catch. What happens? You're getting endorsement deals out of the wazoo. You're able to capitalize off of your name and your brand. Take this into account. And Dan to know exactly where I'm coming from with this. You're playing in the National Football League. You got on helmets and shoulder pads. Your identity is disguised. There's very, very few people that get marketed in the National Football League. That's why it's such a big deal. Why do you think you see guys constantly looking at the camera and celebrating after they make a tackle, even though they gave up 30 points or something? Because everybody's looking for their one moment to shine, because unlike the NBA, the NFL players aren't as identifiable to the masses the way you are in other sports. So everybody looks for their own little nugget of capitalization. And if you're Odell Beckham Jr., you had that in New York. You don't have that now. And if you look at him, think about the bad rap he got, Molly.
But was he happy in New York?
He wasn't happy when Eli was sliding, but he was ecstatic before he wanted to win. But if he was getting the ball and they were winning games, that's exactly the kind of environment he wanted to be in. And then he got a bad rap. And let's think about this. He had one incident with some pizza and a woman in France or whatever, and that made news. Outside of that, y'all, tell me what Odell Beckham Jr. has made news for.
No, he's definitely mature.
I mean, he didn't get in any trouble.
No.
He hasn't done anything. So why should he be a concern for a team that he knows wants him, A, and B, will throw him the football? He's not going to be a problem.
My only rebuttal to you, Stephen A., is if we're going to say that he performed the level that he did in New York was tied to being in the city, then we can't say, or then you can't say that he should go to Kansas City or Green Bay, because those cities are not New York City.
No, what's the first point? What's the first point I gave you? I talked about
Los
if you know
Angeles.
you're going someplace. No, I'm not talking about the team. I'm saying my point was if you go